It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to this fourth study circle meeting. In your presence, physically or online, shows our commitment to learning and professional growth in the ever changing field of GST. Today's session on key changes and insights in the form GSTR 9 and 9C by our very own learned speaker, CA Aditya Surte, promises to be both insightful as well as enriching. Winston Churchill once said, and I quote, "Tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, but involve me and I will learn." And so I encourage everyone to participate actively in this session, ask as many questions, and share different perspectives about 9 and 9C. Let us make the most of this opportunity to learn from one another under the expertise of CA Aditya Surte and deepen our understanding about the complexities and the changes in the form GSTR 9 and 9C. Once again, I welcome you all before we go ahead with this all important topic today. Thank you. I now request President Parth Badeka to take the mic for his remarks and some announcements.
Thank you, Ajay, for your inspiring words from Winston Churchill. Now, Winston Churchill, we have spoken about Winston Churchill. That is why I would like to say, I would like to paraphrase Winston Churchill because once he said that you've done your best. So, Winston Churchill, once I'll just paraphrase him. One of his quotes is, "You do, you do your worst, and we will do our best." But in this case, you have done your best, and I will try to do my worst. So, thank you, everyone. This study circle meeting is quite important because we all know that the finalization of accounts for GST, along with all the confusion and delay with regards to your IT returns, then the IT audits and everything. So it's going to be a certain challenge, and that is why I feel that no better than Aditya to come and explain what are the challenges and what are the issues that are there. Now, one of the thing is that in the study circle, एक minute. In the study circle, Aditya can only take you through a very basic point because the time is limited and everything. If at all everybody wants to, engage in further deeper discussion, there is going to be an intensive also, for which I think I have told the intensive committee to have a single lecture entry also for that. So for that, further details will be announced. Now, before I hand over the mic, there are a couple of very important announcements that I want to make. Friends, our association is turning 75, and we've already received, and the foundation day is going to be held on 15 November, 2:30 p.m. onwards at YB Chavan Hall. Justice Bindal, sitting Supreme Court judge, is going to be our chief guest. I request all members and their family to please enroll and attend this magnificent event. Not every day that an association turns 75. When human beings turn 75, it is a huge event, and for an association, it's an even bigger event. And the association is nothing without the members. So that is why I request everyone to please enroll and attend. Another event is that the 50th RRC. Uh, the registration, we have received very good registration, and the due date for which we have to commit to the number of rooms is also coming close. So I request everyone to enroll for the RRC at the earliest. With that, I now call upon Pranav Bhai, the chairman, to say a few words before Aditya begins his address. Thank you, everyone.
Good afternoon, everybody. Respected President and Office Bearers of GSTPAM, the learned speaker Aditya Surte, the members present at the library over here, and those who are watching this study circle meeting online. A big welcome to all of you. It's the GST audit season once again. although the term audit has gone away, but yes, it's the GST annual return, and it's a season which we all practitioners, are aware of and we look forward to, and we make preparations for it year through. This time it has so happened that the government has also made lots of preparations in streamlining the annual return GSTR 9 and 9C. And while going through the amendments, which I was going through and discussing with my team at office, so I could understand that there were so many anomalies which we were discussing earlier in so many study circle meetings and so many representations that we have made. And so many of those changes are now getting reflected in the amendments which have come, and somewhere it was something as simple as the words paid versus payable. The auto populated was payable, but the word written was paid in GSTR 9C in some of the columns. So as simple as that, even those changes are now made. I know it is not going to be a foolproof form GSTR 9 9C, because the way the GSTR 3B was introduced and then how GSTR 9 9C, we have all seen the evolution of these forms, how this has happened. And with all these limitations on the portal and of the forms, this is how we are filing the GSTR 99C. Very important amendments have come in GSTR 99C, and I'm sure we have a very, very able person with us to guide us through all these changes. And I really compliment the conveners, Ajay and Sejal madam and Umang, for calling Aditya for this meeting. And I'm sure we will all have a very good learning and insights into the annual return GSTR 9 and 9C. All the best to you, Aditya. And thank you very much, all of you.
I would now request our member Harish Chugani to come and give a very, very brief introduction of CA Aditya Surte.
Good afternoon, everyone. CA Aditya Surte. He is a commerce and law graduate from University of Mumbai and a fellow chartered accountant specializing in GST advisory, litigation, audit, and compliance. He is a proud legacy bearer, grandson of legendary advocate P.V. Surte. He is passionate about knowledge dissemination and frequently delivers lectures at seminars conducted by professional bodies, trade organizations, and various other corporate forums. His recognitions are also very good. He has been recognized as a best speaker at study circle meetings by GSTPAM, best upcoming speaker by AIFTP, best paper writer by GSTPM for his research paper on case studies in composite and mixed supply in 2018. He is a regular contributor to professional journals and forums. His notable publications include Applicability and Impact of GST on Charitable and Religious Trusts in the publication of ICAI. He is a co-author of short publication of Transitional Provisions in GST published by GSTPM and Key Rulings under Indirect Tax Laws, a GST Perspective published by CTC with Walters Kluwer. He is recognized faculty and resource person on GST for the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and he is also a permanent invitee at GSTPM. With this very, very brief introduction, I request our convener Ajay to please carry forward the.
As a token of our love and affection towards our speaker, I request our president to hand him over a memento. काय करायचंय करे दुसरा व्हिडिओ पाहिजे तुला तुला पाहिजे हा व्हिडिओ पाहिजे तो पण सांगतो यस Good afternoon, everyone. I hope I am audible even to those who are attending virtually. So my first request is please, if possible, turn off your mobile phones or keep them on silent, even to those who are attending virtually, because it is our experience that when we attend sessions virtually, we tend to multitask and not pay attention. So my request is that if for the next 1.5 hours, if we can, all pay attention to this presentation, this session, it will be beneficial for all of us. Okay. Screen share करावं लागेल ना रे मला. Okay. So the first and foremost, before I proceed, I wish to thank our GSTPAM, the Law and Representation Committee, the chairman, the conveners, the president, everyone, for inviting me and to come here and share my thoughts. Now, a little bit of a background before we proceed into this session, partly given by Chairman Pranav Bhai. What are these changes? First and foremost, we need to understand that some of these changes are not incremental. They are radical. But like I said, these changes, or like he said, these changes are the culmination of all the pain points that were faced in the previous returns. So these changes have been made to address those. So these are going to be helpful. There is nothing from these changes. There are still pain points, which, like Parth said, that this may not be the forum to discuss all the issues threadbare. Although in my presentation, it's not just the overview of the changes. I have also covered certain case studies for everyone's benefit to understand exactly what this is. However, there may be certain issues which still remain pending. For that, a threadbare analysis on a different forum, those can be taken up. But from what we have found, that these changes are not causing any fresh problems. That is first point. Point number two, why is this session or why are these changes important? Audit to raha nahi, correct? Then why is GSTR 9 so important? So, as we all know, in any compliance or self-compliance regime, returns are of paramount importance. Now, annual return remains to be that one last return for the taxpayer to declare his correct position, if at all any errors have been committed while filing the returns for the year. That being said, the difference between our regular returns or rather annual returns under the erstwhile laws and the annual return under GST, one primary difference is that this return is a little different in the sense that it is a culmination or totaling or consolidation of all the returns filed. Correct? All of us who have filed annual returns can vouch for this fact that this return is very different from our 704 or earlier VAT regime returns or service tax returns also. One primary reason for that is this annual return, because the GST regime is such that whenever we are filing any returns through GSTR 3B, those returns affect our liability ledger, they affect our credit ledger. Correct? Annual return neither affects or is not able to also, even if we want it, it will never affect the liability ledger. It will not affect the credit ledger also. So you cannot discharge any liability through the annual return. You cannot claim any fresh input tax credit through the annual return. You cannot reverse any input tax credit through the annual return. So that is why this return remains a unique return. There is no doubt that this annual return is poorly designed as compared to the previous annual returns. The reason for that is that this return was designed keeping in mind GSTR 1, 2, and 3, where the idea was all the
errors that are committed in 1 will get resolved by the time the person files GSTR 3. Errors committed while auto-population of GSTR 2A will be rectified in GSTR 2. Everything again will get rectified in 3. So at the end of the year, there will not be any unrectified errors. That was the basic idea of the GST returns, based on which, so although GSTR 1 remained, 2 went away, and instead of 3 came 3B, which was a summary return, which is now the regular return. This form had not changed. So keeping all these things in our mind as a background, let us move forward. One last thing before I move forward, which I wanted to address. The question that I had asked, then why is this return important, or why are these changes important? Having briefed you about all the limitations of this form, please bear in mind this return is extremely important as and when notices for scrutiny, adjudication come up, or there is an audit under section 65 that is happening, or in any other proceedings. There are certain, because the returns have limitations, GSTR 3B is a summary return and it has its own limitations. Reporting in annual returns in GSTR 9 shows a very big part, or proves to be a very reliable compliance while proving certain facts, or as a corroborative evidence for certain averments that are being made before the authorities. First part, where are these changes coming from? This notification number 13 of 2025 Central Tax brought in CGST third amendment rules. By way of these third amendment rules, which are been made effective from 22nd of September 25, these changes to these forms have been made. Amended utilities have also been made available on the GST portal. Please bear in mind, at that time there was a discussion as to, because already the income tax returns were delayed. Now they have made changes to the GST returns. When will these utilities come up? When will we file them? So I think the government has also learnt certain lessons. I think they were partially ready with the utilities before they announced the changes in the forms, in the rules. So the utilities have already come. Whether the due date remains 31st of December or not is a matter of speculation, which we shall not enter into right now. My personal opinion is that the date should permanently be extended by 1 month. Not for the reason that this year, of course, because the income tax returns themselves were delayed and the reconciliations would be delayed. But the very fact that section 16(4), the time limit for claiming ITC and finalization and correction of errors has been pushed from the earlier 20th October date to 30th November. So since that date has been pushed by a month, obviously, in order to give sufficient time, this date should be made as 31st January permanently. That is my personal view. Not that it matters, but as of now, 31st December remains the due date. The applicability, again, there is no change in this applicability. This is only for overview and updated information of everyone. For taxable persons whose aggregate annual turnover is up to 2 crore rupees, they are still exempt from filing 9 or 9C. However, like I explained, even if you are exempt from 9 and 9C, from my office, we always advise, we are not insisting that everyone files an annual return. However, if there is even a single rupee of ITC for the current year which has been claimed in the subsequent year, or earlier years ITC has been claimed in the current year, we highly recommend that you file the annual return, because when the notices come, that exemption in annual return is not going to help you. If you have filed that annual return, is going to be very useful. If your aggregate annual turnover is up to 5 crores, 9 is mandatory, 9C is not. Above 5 crores, 9 and 9C are both mandatory. Please also bear in mind that all the monthly or quarterly returns for 24-25 must be filed for the tile to be enabled. So the portal itself will not allow you to file the annual return unless you have filed all your monthly returns for the year. I am quickly going through the part of output supply. So what I have done in this presentation is I have gone table wise, right from table 4 of GSTR 9 right up to table 17. In between, the biggest change is in the tables relating to ITC 6, 7 and 8. We will spend our time on those tables. That will be the most useful or adequate use of our time. So I will quickly run through these other changes as well. Tables 4 and 5, the biggest change is in relation to, first is e-commerce operators. As we all know, in form GSTR1, they have brought new tables. Those persons who are supplying through e-commerce operators, where the supplies are covered or notified by section 9 subsection 5. To give you an example, taxi drivers supplying passenger transportation service through Ola, Uber, correct? Those restaurants which are supplying restaurant services through Swiggy as well as Zomato, all such services are notified. Swiggy and Zomato or Ola and Uber are the e-commerce operators who are required to pay the tax. Please bear in mind, 9(5) supplies are other than regular supplies through e-commerce operators. If I am not mistaken, GSTR 1 contains two sections. Supply through an e-commerce operator, where the e-commerce operator is going to collect tax at source. I am the person who is responsible to pay the tax. The e-commerce operator is collecting tax at source and depositing, for which I claim the credit, me being the supplier. Second category is where I am supplying services through an e-commerce operator, and it is the e-commerce operator who is being notified to be the person who is responsible for discharging that tax. I am only going to report those sales. I do not pay the tax on those sales. It is the e-commerce operator who pays the tax. Is this clear? Second table that has been brought in is with regard to the reporting by the e-commerce operator, where the e-commerce operator reports that these are my sales, but these are sales for and on behalf of the supplier who is supplying through me. Correct? So a corresponding change has been made in GSTR 9. Table 4G1 has been introduced. As we all know, table 4 gives the details of taxable supplies. So if I am the supplier, I am supplying through an e-commerce operator and he discharges the tax liability, I will not report that in table 4 because that is not my taxable supply. It's a taxable supply for the e-commerce operator. So this table 4 G1 is to be filled by the e-commerce operator who is supplying, who is making that supply. Okay. So the table also, the description of the table in the form itself is also very clear, to be entered by the e-commerce operator. Table 5 C1. This is another new table where I, as a supplier who's supplying through an e-commerce operator, will report. So if I were to take an example, I am a restaurant supplying through Zomato. Zomato pays the tax on the restaurant service at 5%. I do not discharge any tax liability. In that case, I will report that turnover. I am still required to report that turnover because it is still a taxable turnover. It's just that it's not my taxable turnover anymore. I am still required to report that turnover in GSTR 1. I will also report that turnover in table 4G1. I'm sorry, I will report that in 5C1, and Zomato will report that turnover in 4G1 as its taxable supplies. Next change is a change in the background. There is no new table as such, but since GSTR 1A has now been introduced, I hope everyone is aware about GSTR 1A form. It is that 1A is the form which basically allows us to make corrections to the already filed GSTR 1 form up to the date of filing of GSTR 3B. So that whatever, because now the details are being auto-populated from GSTR 1 to GSTR 3B. If at all any errors have been made in GSTR 1, then and there we can correct it through GSTR 1A. Please also bear in mind that when this annual return gets auto-populated from GSTR 1, till now it is always auto-populated from GSTR 1. Table 4 and 5 have always been auto-populated from GSTR 1. So this 1A integration was not there. That has been brought in. So whatever changes are made through GSTR 1A throughout the year, those will also get incorporated. You are not going to see them as separate details, but if changes have been made to B2B, if 100 rupees were reported, and thereafter 1A was filed and they were made 90 rupees, what they are saying is in your table 4, now 90 rupees will reflect. Next, we come to the important part, the ITC reporting changes. First, I come to table 6. I will repeat a few things because in my experience, since this is only an annual return, Okay. It is my experience that since this is an annual return, many of us are not very conversant with all the table numbers, or we don't have a visual picture of it. As much as possible, I've given the visuals, but everywhere it might not be possible. So I may repeat a few things for everyone's benefit. So first and foremost, we need to understand that table 6A, certain things which have not changed. Like I said, certain changes are incremental, certain changes might be radical. Table 6A auto-populates our ITC from GSTR 3B. Whatever ITC is reported in GSTR 3B filed for April 2024 to March 2025 is going to appear in table 6A. A new table 6A1 has been introduced to report ITC of preceding financial year availed in the current financial year, excluding ITC reclaimed under Rule 37 and 37A. I will come to the latter part a little later. First, only concentrate on this part. Like I said at the start of this session, one of the biggest limitations in GST compliance is that the GST returns cannot be revised. The GSTR 3B is a summary return. So whatever figure we are putting in it, just 2 days ago, I was attending before a central authority, and that authority, it was a lady, and she said that while I was explaining the reconciliation of the ITC for 21-22, the conversation came to where she herself said that the problem with these returns is we don't get to know as to which month's ITC this is being claimed. I said, or rather her statement was that there is no invoice level details of inward supplies. So my reaction to that was that we know that Maharashtra had represented at that time, because we under VAT had that return where we gave invoice level inward supplies details also. And I told her that we had represented that. And if not that, the alternative that I have always stated, or we have represented also, that the least you can do is in that GSTR 3B, in that all other ITC, design changes will have to be worked out, but at least give a drop down for me to report if I'm filing a return for May 2025, whether that ITC is of May 2025, drop down, add a line. That ITC is of April 2025, add a line if it is of March 2025. That helps me to show to you as the officer, as the taxpayer, it helps me to show to the officer that these are the ITC, because at some point, the officers are of the opinion that no, we have to trust what you are telling only, because there is no corroborative evidence, because at the end of the day, we only have to rely on your working. What you are saying that this ITC belongs to that period. Then we have to go to that period and see if that is matching. Then you say, no, in that period, there is ITC of previous month. I said, that is always going to happen. That is bound to happen. Coming back to this part, the problem that we always faced, because if in 24-25 GSTR 3B, any ITC of 23-24 was also claimed, what were we doing? Many people were following many different practices. Majority of us, so earlier there was 6A, that ITC appearing in 6A was required to be reported based on FCM, RCM, import, whatever it was. So the bifurcation was given, reclaim of ITC in table 6H. 6I was the total, and then there was 6J, difference between 6A and 6J. Correct? Most of us, I don't know, there were at least 2 to 3 methods in which people were reporting. I will only talk about the method that we were following. Majority of us were not reporting this last year's ITC, although it was getting auto-populated in 6A, we were not reporting that in 6B. I am only talking about forward charge ITC now, for the sake of simplicity. And some of us were reporting it in 6H. Some of us were leaving it, majority of us were leaving it as a difference in 6J. Now, some of us were leaving it at that. Some of us were reporting that in 6M. Any other ITC not reported above. What was the reason? Anything that we report in 6B and 6H used to get auto-populated in 8B. That 8B is basically comparison with GSTR 2A earlier. Since last 1 year or 2 years, it has become comparison with GSTR 2B. Correct? So again, I'll go back to what I stated in the beginning. This form might be poorly designed. The taxpayer also wants to show his correct position for the year. At the same time, we have to report in such manner that we unnecessarily don't raise red flags in the system and don't receive system generated notices where no mind is applied, because there is a difference between 1 and 2. So that is a difficult task. मराठीमध्ये तारेवरची कसरत म्हणतो आम्ही त्याला. The practitioners have been doing to ensure that correct reporting is being done, but such reporting is not done so as to so that the taxpayer faces unnecessary notices. Now 6A1, we are allowed to report that 23-24 ITC claimed in 24-25. A2 will give the net ITC 6A minus 6A1. Now we have to give the bifurcation only of what is appearing in 6A2 between 6B to 6H. So that one big problem got resolved. We don't need to keep that. That is not going to appear in table 6J as a difference anymore. So naturally, the third point, 6J has also been changed. It now displays the difference between 6I and 6A2. Okay. 6M used to earlier read any other ITC. The instructions to the form stated that any other ITC which is not reported above, such as ITC reported through, claimed through ITC 01, ITC 02, can be reported here. Now they don't want you to report that, because after introduction of that 6A1, there is no need for us to report anything in 6M. And they want that 6M to be specifically for these ITC availed through ITC 01, 2 and 2A. So they have categorically stated, they've changed the form and provided in the field itself that in 6M, this table will only be for ITC availed through ITC 01, 2 and 2A. This part is clear to everyone? Okay. Next, change in table 7 of GSTR 9. Two new rows have been added, 7A1 and 7A2. Rule 37, as we all know, corresponds to the second proviso to section 16 subsection 2, where the taxpayer has not made payment to the vendor within 180 days. It requires that we have to reverse the ITC and reclaim it as and when that consideration is paid. This 7A refers to rule 37, which is reversal. So if at all any reversal is done through the returns in GSTR 3B for non-payment of consideration within 180 days, then that gets automatically reflected. No, this may not get automatically reflected. Table 7 does not get auto-populated at all. But we are expected to report that reversal for non-payment within 180 days in 7A. 7A1, this new rule 37A was brought in, which basically states that if you have claimed any ITC based on that invoice appearing in your GSTR 2B after section 6(2)AA was inserted, and the supplier has not, so if at all any invoice is appearing in 2B on the basis of 16(2)AA and that invoice reflecting in your 2B, you will claim that ITC. It may happen, although it is rare in today's day and age after all the changes are made in the GST returns, that the supplier may have filed his GSTR 1, the invoice might be reflecting, but he may not have filed his GSTR 3B. Nowadays, they don't allow that supplier to file his next GSTR 1 if he doesn't file his 3B at all. But for such situations, this rule 37A states that after the end of the year, you go and see whether your suppliers, all your suppliers have filed GSTR 3B. If you find that certain suppliers have not filed GSTR 3B, till 30th September, we'll allow you to reverse that ITC that you had already claimed because it had appeared in your 2B without any interest. As and when they file their GSTR 3B, you can reclaim this ITC. There is no time limit for this reclaim. Is this rule clear to everyone? This 7A1 is to report that particular reversal. 7A2, rule 38, provides for 50% reversal, which is an optional scheme for banks and financial institutions where they don't have to follow rule 42-43. They can straight away reverse 50% of their ITC and be done with. That can be separately reported. Earlier, it had to be reported in any other ITC or other reversals, 7H. Now, specific column has been made. The other tables remain the same. What is the importance of this table 7? I recently, during an adjudication, while we had reported certain reversal in 7H, Notice was issued first in ASMT 10, thereafter under section 73, stating that looking at your creditors, we see that you have not made payment to these many creditors within 180 days. You are required to reverse your ITC. The taxpayer responded saying that we have already reversed this particular ITC. It has been reported in the 3B and it has also been reported in GSTR 9. The contention that the officer tried to take was that what you have reported in your GSTR 9 has been reported in table 7H. If you had reported, if that reversal was for non-payment within 180 days, it should have been reported under 7A. Since I am not seeing anything in 7A, I am assuming that you have, because there is no separate section in GSTR 3B. It's either reversal under 42, 43, 17.5 and any other reversal, correct? So I am assuming that this is not that reversal. I am asking you to reverse. To that, we had to respond saying that, and this came to our rescue, because at that time the instruction stated that it was optional for the taxpayer to report these separate reversals, or he could consolidate everything and report everything in 7H. So where the form itself allows us, you have to accept our contention. However, now that is not the case. You have to report, and even if it is optional, I would state that if that is the ITC reversal, you report it in that column. Like I said, it will help you. Moving forward, table 8. So the biggest changes are in table 6 and table 8. Okay. Table 8, first, what has happened? Table 8A. Like I said, I don't remember exactly, since last year or the year before that, the basis got changed from auto population from 2A to auto population from GSTR 2B. I think it was last year, right? From 23-24. Okay. Now the biggest problem, at that time, I think we had a session or somewhere I had delivered a lecture and I had stated this, that should have always remained as ITC as per 2A only. Because the moment they changed, we all know what 2A and 2B is. 2A is dynamic, 2B is static. That therefore, for filing returns, they had to put a cutoff date. So 2B for monthly returns is very good. But whenever you are looking at annual ITC, then 2A is always better, because any ITC that is appearing in subsequent years GSTR 2B was never auto-populating in this table 8A. And that was a major problem. So last year, what we had to do, any ITC that was appearing in subsequent years GSTR 2B, which was also claimed in subsequent years GSTR 2B, we never reported in 8C. Because the moment you reported that in 8C, there was a difference, a negative difference, which was an artificial difference, correct? Because that ITC never formed part of 8A, there was always a difference. That issue has been resolved. Now, table 8A will include the ITC of 24-25 reported in GSTR 2B of 25-26 up to the date up to which it is allowed, 30th November. Please bear in mind, I have given this FY 24-24 reported in 25-26 as an example, because we are concentrating on filing of return of 24-25. So any ITC for the year which is reported or which is appearing in GSTR 2B of the subsequent year up to 30th November will get auto-populated in 8A. Similarly, any ITC of previous year which is appearing in my 2B of current year will be excluded. The point is now 8A, although it is still based on GSTR 2B, will only give you the ITC of the current year for the current year, whether the ITC is appearing in 2B of the current year or the subsequent year. Similarly, last year's ITC will not get included even if it is appearing in my current 2B. Is this clear? Next big change in 8B is, or rather a small change with big impact. Now earlier 8B used to take the figures, it used to be auto-populated always, take figures from 6B and 6H. That reclaimed also used to be there. Now it is going to take figure only from 6B, correct? So any ITC which is reclaimed and reported in 6H will not come here. One small example I'll give, and this will get covered one more time in the case studies that I'm covering. If those people who are following that circular number 170 of 2022, what that circular stated, where table 4 of GSTR 3B changed, they said that any ITC is appearing in 2B, you report in 4A5, but you are not claiming in this month. You report in 4A5. Then you report in 4B2, correct? That will be the reversal. That's a temporary reversal. Then if you are claiming it in the next month, it is not going to appear in that 2B, but you will add that again to 4A5 and report that as reclaim in 4D1, correct? So those who are following this, imagine a scenario where you had claimed ITC in April, reversed it in that April return only, and reclaimed that in May. 100 rupees ITC, because in 4A5 that 100 has come twice, 200 used to come, correct? Now this table 8, we have table 6 as gross ITC, table 7 as reversal, table 8 gives you the comparison between 2B and ITC claimed, but it takes from table 6. So the comparison is only between the gross ITC. So you are reporting 200 rupees in table 6, 100 rupees in table 7. But those who were reporting that in table 6B and table 6H, 200 rupees were coming, whereas 100 rupees were only appearing in table 8A because that's one single invoice. That was the problem. Therefore, people like me or many more people were reporting. So two things were coming in our 6M. One was that ITC of previous year claimed in current year. Second part was this ITC claimed, reversed and reclaimed for in the current year itself, because we could not report that in 6H. The moment you reported that in 6H, you had a problem with table 8. That problem has been resolved. Now, if you have claimed, reversed and reclaimed such ITC within the year, you will report that in 6B, you will report that in 6H, you will report that in 7H, and there will not be any problem. I hope this is clear. Okay. A new table 8H1 has been inserted. There was a problem. If I have imported certain goods, paid the IGST on that import, clearing those goods, but claimed the credit of that IGST in the subsequent year. Earlier instructions stated that in such cases, the instructions were a little different. They had equated it with RCM because import of goods is just like RCM. They had only stated that if you have paid it in subsequent, although you have imported in current year, if you have paid the IGST in the subsequent year and claimed the ITC in the subsequent year, you consider that as ITC of the next year only. However, there were situations where you may have paid the IGST this year, but claimed the ITC in the subsequent year. So similar arrangement that we have has been made over here. So 8H1 will allow you to report that ITC of IGST paid on goods imported in FY 24-25, where ITC is claimed in the subsequent year. Please bear in mind, the moment we report this, we should also report that in table 13. They have issued FAQs. 24 FAQs have been issued. They are available on the GST portal. In the news and update section, they have given a link for those FAQs. There they have given various scenarios. That last important point that I have stated, that differences exist between table 8A reporting on the GST portal versus table 8A Excel utility. As we all are aware, whatever appears in 8A, an Excel utility is available for download. We download that, invoice level reconciliation is done. We have found many a times that there is a difference between that Excel utility and this. They have covered almost all the scenarios where there can be a difference. Please bear in mind that Excel utility is based on whatever is reported. In fact, in the sense that if somebody is reported it 100 rupees ITC in GSTR1 incorrectly, in the subsequent month that person amends and makes that amount 0, then when you see that table 8A, you are going to see B2B ITC as 100 and B2BA as 0. It is for us to see and match those in order to see whether it is matching or not. That still remains the same. They have just clarified that what are the reasons there could be differences between that 8A figure appearing on the portal and 8A that you see in your Excel file. We now come to these case studies that I was talking about. Please stay with me. I have only given figures wherever they are required. Everywhere else we are just going to see, and I would appreciate if, unfortunately, the online participants may not be able to participate, but at your end you can do. Those who are present here, if you can give these answers, it will be better for you and me. 3 scenarios I'm covering. This first, the topic is, or rather the broad scenario is this: we are talking about ITC of financial year 23-24 claimed in financial year 24-25. Okay. Last year's, we are considering these scenarios from the perspective of reporting in GSTR 9 of 24-25. Last year's ITC claimed in current year's GSTR 3B. First scenario, that it is a first claim. What are the facts? It was never claimed in GSTR 3B of last year. It has been claimed in GSTR 3B of this year for the very first time. It's not a reclaim. Okay. Whatever could be the reason, it may have appeared in my 2B in the current year, or if it, even if it has appeared in the 2B of last year, I do not follow that circular 170. So I ignore it and I directly take it in my 4A5 of this. Example is basically March goods that were invoiced in March, received by me in April. That invoice may have appeared in 2B of March at that time, but I may not have given that effect of 4A5 and 4B2. Or take a scenario where that somebody who had supplied to me never reported that invoice, and in the current year, after I follow up, I do my reconciliation, I see that that invoice is not appearing, therefore I have never claimed that ITC. That person uploads that invoice or makes correction, and now it is appearing in my September GSTR 2B and I have claimed it. In that case, whether such ITC will appear in my 6A of 24-25? Anyone? Yes? Okay. Because 6A gives me ITC claimed in GSTR 3B of current year. That ITC, although of last year, has been reported in current year, it will get auto-populated. Now, having explained what is 6A1 and all the other tables, what is your opinion? Do we report that ITC of preceding year availed in current financial year in 6A1? Yes? Okay. The moment we report that in 6A1, it is not going to come in your 6A2 because 6A2 is 6A minus 6A1. The fact that it is not appearing in my 6A2, I don't have to report that in 6B to 6H. So there is no question of that. That reclaimed 6H part is for the next two scenarios. Ignore it. Will it appear in my 8A? No. Correct? Now, this is where the changed basis has come. You are right. But if they had not changed the basis of 8A, if that invoice was appearing in my 2B of September, as per the previous basis, it would have appeared in my 8A. Now, because they have stated in 8A, earlier years invoices will not appear. Even if they are appearing, we will remove it from 8A. It is not going to appear. Is it going to be a problem? No, because since you are not reporting in 6B, it is also not going to appear in my 8B. So this is going to be the reporting. Now we come to the second aspect, reclaim first part other than 37-37A. Now we are going to have to see these two scenarios separately because this is where they have made a distinction. Reclaim other than 37-37A means, let's take for example circular 170. I follow circular 170. Someone invoiced me for goods in March 2024, correct? I have not received the goods till April. That invoice got reflected in my March 2024 GSTR 2B. I reported that in 4A5 because I'm following circular 170. I reported that ITC in 4A5 of March. I reported that ITC as reversal, temporary reversal in 4B2 as well, correct? In April, I received the goods. I recorded the invoice, correct? Now, I am going to claim that ITC in April. I will add that to 4A5. And that is how that ITC has been reclaimed in my financial year 24-25. Is this going to appear in my 6A? Correct? Now, do I report this ITC in my 6A1? That is my previous year's ITC claimed in this year. The answer is yes. Okay. By the time we finish all these scenarios, we'll also get to know. Only that ITC, if this reclaim was under 37 or 37A, you will not report it over here. For anything else, please bear in mind, even if it is reclaimed, it is still the ITC of the last year, which is claimed in current year. Whether first claim or reclaim, you report it in 6A1. I will tell you how that is going to be useful also. Is it going to appear in 6A2? No. Do I report that in my 6H? If it does not appear in my 6A2, I will not even report it in my 6H. There is no reason for me. Correct? Does it appear in my 8A? No. Because it has already appeared in my And even if it had not appeared in my last years and I had claimed it and I'm reclaiming it for whatever reason it is appearing in my current year, it is still going to be excluded. And it is also not going to come in my 8B. Now, third scenario. I claimed certain ITC in 23-24. Say April 2023, I had claimed certain ITC. In October 2023, October 2023, I reversed that ITC because I did not pay my supplier within 180 days. And I finally make payment in this year, 24-25, whichever month, October, November, December. Okay, December 2024. Am I allowed to reclaim that ITC? Yes, 16.4 time limit does not apply any which way. Now, since I have reported that ITC in my GSTR 3B of December 24, will it appear in 6A? Yes. Do I report that in 6A1? No. Okay. And I will explain why there is a difference between these two. Because we have to report this. The point is, and this is the only area where people might be get a little confused even while reporting in this scenario or this form. They only want you to report that reclaimed ITC, which is reclaimed under 37 or 37A in table 6H, whenever you are reclaiming it in subsequent years. Okay. In subsequent years, any other reason other than 37A, they don't want you to report it in 6H. They want you to report in 6A1. Okay. Another thing, easy point to remember is, any ITC that is reclaimed in 37 or 37A is to be considered as ITC of that year only. That is how you can remember it. And that is what their FAQ number 24 very clearly states. Any ITC reclaimed in terms of Rule 37 or 37A, that is, reclaim on account of payment to the vendor where it was previously reversed for non-payment within 180 days, or reclaim on account of supplier having filed GSTR 3B where it was previously reversed for his non-filing, that ITC is to be considered as the ITC for the financial year in which it is reclaimed, and you report accordingly. Therefore, you will not report that in 6A1. It will come in 6A2. Then you will report that in 6H. It is still not going to come in 8A because it is not in 2B of the current year. And now since their 8B basis has changed, anything you report in 6H will also not come in 8B. You will not have any issues. Okay. I hope this part is clear. There are certain online comments that I'm seeing, which I will address after covering all the scenarios also. Next, ITC of financial year 24-25. He was right. This is blocking it, no? ITC of financial year 24-25 claimed, reversed and reclaimed within the financial year 24-25. That explanation I gave you, that example that I gave you. You claimed certain ITC. You reversed it in the year itself. It could be because you have not paid to your vendor within 180 days and then you paid within that year only. It could be because you're following circular 170, something appeared in your 2B, you claimed, you showed it as 4A5 and 4B2, and then you reclaimed it in the next month or the month after that. It could be any reasons. So these are the facts that I'm giving. For only for this example, I'm putting in figures. ITC of rupees 120 was claimed in 3B of April 24. This ITC was reversed in 3B of October 2024 due to non-payment to supplier within 6 months. Then this ITC was reclaimed in 3B of February 25 because I paid to the vendor. Facts are clear. ITC is 120 rupees. Now you please tell me what amount is going to appear in which table. Table 6A will contain 120 or 240? 240. Because that ITC of 120 has been claimed in April 24 and February 25, both within 24-25 only. Correct? 6A1, do I report anything? Is it ITC of previous year? No. So my 6A2 will also show 240 rupees. Out of this 240, now the bifurcation I have to give. Correct? 6B, this is my regular forward charge ITC. It could be of input services, capital goods, whatever it is. I will report in 6B only rupees 120 because that is my correct ITC, correct? That reclaim after reversal that was done, I will report in 6H, correct? That reversal that was done in October 24, I will report in table 7A, reversal as per rule 37. Now please bear in mind what happened was 6A had 240. Out of that 6B mein there is 120, 6H mein there is 120, no difference in 6J. 7H, so 240 rupees have come in table 6. 120 rupees have come in table 7A. Your table 7J, which is your net ITC, is 120 rupees. Everything is correct. Now earlier there used to be a problem with table 8 when we reported like this. Now 8A will contain how much? 120, because that invoice has appeared in 2B only once. Now my 8B will only take from my 6B and it will show 120. So difference in 8D will be 0. Sir, I will share the PPT with everybody. I've already shared with GSTPAM. We'll put it on the channel if possible. No, PDFs don't come on the channel. We'll send it to everyone. Then next is ITC of rupees 120 appearing in 2B of April, but not in books. Second scenario I'm covering, which I'm covering other than 3737A. We are considering a situation example of circular 170. Okay. 120 rupees ka ITC appeared in my 2B of April 24, but it was not in my books, so I did not claim. I reported that ITC of 120 in 4A5 and 4B2 of April 24. And in my May 24, I have booked those purchases. I have claimed that ITC in my 4A5. Again, in my 6A, how much amount is going to appear? 120 or 240? 240. I claimed it twice in the 3B. It is going to come as 240. Is it my previous year's ITC? No, so no reporting in 6A1. It will, 240 rupees will come in 6A2. Then bifurcation I give in 6B. How much do I report? 120. In 6H, ITC reclaimed 120. Other reversal 7H. This is not 7A or 7A1 or 7A2 or 7B, 7C. This is 7H. 120. Again, my table 7J we will remain at 120. Everything is correct. And my 8A will contain only 120. My 8B will contain 120. Why did I take two tables if the reporting is the same? The point I am trying to highlight over here is, if any ITC is claimed, reversed and reclaimed within the same year, you don't need to apply your mind as to whether that reclaim is on account of 3737A or any other reason. That 3737A and any other than 3737A reclaim, the distinction only comes where the reclaim is in a subsequent year. That was the whole point. If it is within the same year, this is going to be your reporting. 6B, 6H, 7 may either 7A, 7B, whatever it is, 7H, and finished. Again, another point is your 6H does not affect your 8B anymore. Next scenario. The last part divided into subparts. ITC of current year, financial year 24-25, claimed in financial year 25-26. I have taken this subpart as first claim. What does that mean? ITC never appeared in my 2B. Let's simplify it. Okay, in 24-25. Although I had the invoice, so I have not claimed it in my 3B. I followed up with the vendor. He finally uploaded that invoice in his one. It appeared in my GSTR 2B of 25-26. It could be September, October 2025, wherein I finally claimed it for the first time. Okay. Now, if you notice that line I have given here is whether appearing in 2B of 24-25 or 25-26, it is going to be immaterial. Okay. I will explain why it is that so also. So consider this scenario. Now let us see what we are going to report. In my 24-25, that ITCs of 24-25 claimed in 25-26, is it going to appear in my 6A? No. Correct? No, nothing will appear. So there is no question of reporting anything in 6A2, 6A1, 6A2. There is no question of anything coming in 6B to 6H also. My table 6 is done. In my table 7 also there is no reversal only. Is it going to appear in my 8A? Yes. Correct? Is it going to appear in my 8B? I didn't report anything in 6B, no? Correct? Do I report that ITC in my 8C? Yes. Do I report that ITC in my table 13? Yes. Okay. Coming to how do we report in GSTR 9 of 25-26? Will it appear in my 6A of 25-26? Yes. Do I report that at 6A1? Finished. Okay. Next, consider a scenario where my current year's ITC was claimed and reversed in 24-25 and reclaimed in 25-26. First, we'll take a case of other than 37-37A. See, many practitioners tell me that you're talking about so much about 37-37A. Who is reporting ITC reversal in 37 and 37A? The client never reports to us that the payment is, client himself does not know that consideration has not been paid. But if you do correct reporting, I am covering that scenario. Majority of the reversals and reclaims are in this category, circular 170, where something is appearing in 2B. We are showing that in 4A5. We are showing that in 4B2. And then subsequently we are reclaiming it in 4A5. Correct? So you take what is relevant to you. I am covering it for everybody. The facts are that ITC was appearing in 2B of March 25, last month of my 24-25, but it did not appear in my books. In my GSTR 3B of March 2025, I reported that in 4A5 and also reported that as reversal in 4B2. I claimed that ITC in my April 2025, 25-26. So in my GSTR 9 of 24-25, is it going to appear in 6A? Yes. Yes. Correct? Because I claimed it in March, reversed it in March, and then reclaimed. So it will come in my 6A. Do I report that in 6A1? Is it my last year's ITC? No. So it will come in my 6A2. Then I will report that in 6B also. Correct? Do I report that in table 7? Yes. It will come in my 7H, other reversals. Will it come in my 8A? Yes, it was appearing in my 2B of March. Please bear in mind, even if it appeared in my 2B of April or May or June, it is still going to come in my table 8A now. Okay? Will it come in my 8B? Because I reported in 6B, obviously it is going to come in my 8B. Do I report that in 8C? No. Because if you report that in 8C, you will have a negative which is unnecessary, artificial difference. Do I report that in my table 13? Yes. Yes. Table 13 tells you the ITC for the current years availed by you in the subsequent financial year. In majority of the cases, whatever we report in 8C is also reported in table 13. There are multiple scenarios where there will be differences between 8C and table 13. But in most of them, amounts will be reported in table 13, not in 8C. One example I will give you is RCM. If current year's RCM, you pay the liability in the current year, but you claim it in subsequent year, it will be reported in table 13. Correct? But it will not be part of your 8C because 8 is only covering forward charge reconciliation. Let's come to reporting of GSTR 9 of 25-26. Will it appear in my 6A of 25-26? I claimed it in April 2025, no? So it is going to appear. Do I report that in 6A1 of my 25-26 as ITC of last year? Yes. Correct? Other than 37-37A, na? Yes, sir. It is claimed in March 25, reversed in March 25, and reclaimed in March 25. And another reason I will give you why to report in table 13. Reclaimed in April 25. So at the end of these case studies, no, I have given one slide I prepared this morning of points to remember. Because when I was talking with my team, I realized that even they are getting confused. Beyond the point. So I said we need one-page cheat sheet to remember what are these changes. Last scenario. Okay. ITC of 24-25 claimed in 25-26, but that is reclaimed under 37 or 37A. Okay. ITC was appearing in 2B of April 24. I claimed it in 3B of April 24. For non-payment, I reversed it in 3B of October 24 and I made him payment in May 25. Correct? So I reclaimed it next year. In GSTR 9 of 24-25, will it come in my 6A? Yes, I have claimed that in April 2024. Do I give the bifurcation in 6B? Yes, because it is my current year's ITC. Do I report that again in 6H of 24-25? No, it's a reclaim of subsequent year. No. Do I report that in table 7 reversal? Yes, but in 7A as my reversal under rule 37. Now, table 8A, is it going to appear? Yes, because that invoice has appeared in my 2B. Is it going to appear in 8B? Yes, because I reported that in 6B. Do I report this ITC in 8C? No, otherwise it will yes, cause an artificial difference. Do I report this in table 13? My answer was yes, but the FAQs say no. I will give you their logic, and if you want to report, you can still report it. But uh, again, you will have an explanation ready if you understand why they are saying that. In GSTR 9 of 25-26, what is going to happen? I reclaimed that ITC in May 2025, so it is going to appear in my 6A. Do I report that as my previous year's ITC? No. This is where the difference. One cheat code that I had given you. According to FAQ number 24, any ITC reclaimed under Rule 3737A should be considered as ITC of that year only. So if you have reclaimed it in 25-26, it is ITC of 25-26. So don't treat it as ITC of 24-25 to report in 6A1. That is one way of understanding this. Second way is, because it's a 3737A reclaimed in subsequent year, they want you to report in 6H. Unless you bring it in 6A2, you cannot report it in 6H. So it will come in my 6H. Will it come in my 8A? No. Correct? Because that ITC already appeared in my 2B, in my 2B of 24-25. Will it come in my 8B? No. Correct? Please, this is an error. This is not ITC reclaimed. This is ITC claimed for the year, auto-populated from 6B. This is that slide. Certain important points you need to remember. Okay. Table 8A, first point is table 8A will only show the ITC of the current year, current financial year, whether it is appearing in 2B of the current financial year or it is appearing in the 2B of the next financial year. It will also exclude the ITC of previous financial year appearing in 2B of current financial year. The point is, if you are filing the annual return for GSTR 2B for financial year 2024-25, only the ITC relating to financial year 24-25 appearing in 2B, whichever 2B, will come in 8A. And if that 2B includes any other year's ITC, it will also be excluded. Correct? So inclusions, exclusions, they are doing. How are they tracking it? If someone reports in 25-26 April or May or June GSTR1, but the date of invoice is 24-25, then it will come and sit in your 8A. The issues that may arise out of someone incorrectly reporting the invoice date is something that we can discuss on another forum. Next point you need to remember is table 8B will only take data from table 6B. It will, that reclaim of ITC reported in table 6H will not be included. Third, very important point that you need to remember is reporting in table 8 should be done on the basis of GSTR 2B and your GST returns. Reporting in table 13 should be done based on the basis of your books of accounts and your GST returns. There may be certain ITC. Please bear in mind that table 8 was always supposed to be a statistical table. And this is the stand that we were taking even last year, where certain ITC are not appearing in that 2B, but ITC appearing in next year's 2B was not appearing in 8A. Why should I report it in 8C? No, but that ITC you have claimed in subsequent year. Yes, I am reporting it in table 13. Table 8C, because table 8 is only a reconciliation between their GSTR 2A and GST returns, where majority of the data is being auto-populated. If any reconciliation, if certain amount is not there in your base value only, why do you bring it? Correct? And therefore, we never reported that in 8C. But now today, if something you have reported in the subsequent financial year, which is appearing, even if it is appearing in the 2B of current year or next year, it will still come in 8A. So you can report it in 8C. Over here, I would also like to give one more example to explain this concept. Somebody raised an invoice on you in March 25. Huh? He reported that invoice in GSTR 1 of March 25. Is it appearing in your 2B of March 25? Yes. I am talking about a situation where you never accounted for that invoice in your books of accounts at all. That example that I gave, no? that you have recorded that as your purchase of April only. You have not reported that as your purchase of financial year 24-25 at all. Now, question is, do we report this ITC in table 8C and do we report this ITC in table 13? 8C, everyone agrees, yes, we will report. Correct? You didn't understand the question, madam. I will repeat the question. I am talking about difference between table 8C and table 13 here. I am giving an example, a scenario where your supplier raised an invoice on you in March 2025, reported that invoice. It is appearing in your 2B of March 25. You received those goods. It was for sale of goods. You received those goods in April or May, whatever it is. You accounted for those goods in your books of accounts of April. You have never considered those as your purchases for 24-25. Now, that ITC is going to appear in your 8A. Correct? Do you report that in your 8C? Yes. Do we report that in table 13? So there are two schools of thought here. Some people will tell you that you do report that in table 13 also. My personal view, I will tell you, you will not report that in table 13. That is where I have written this. That your basis for table 13 should be your books and your returns. Merely because something, the invoice date is of 24-25, don't go and report it in table 13. 8C में आएगा madam. That is what we were discussing when you came in. 8C, table 8 is entirely a different reconciliation. Their basis of reconciliation is only 2B and returns. Correct? So if it is appearing in my current year's 2B and it is claimed in my next year's return, irrespective of which year's purchase it is of yours in your books of accounts, you will report that in table 8. Again, we have no business applying our minds or breaking our heads on table 8. Table 8, as they had stated in their first press releases, it is only for statistical purposes. Next, it is for their convenience. They are auto-populating the figures in 8A. They don't allow us to change. They take in 8B. They don't allow us to change. Only 8C you are allowed to insert. Correct? You enter it in 8C. Where else will you enter for that table? Now, why do I say don't report it in table 13? One reason, again, the basis is books and returns. I will also tell you how we will report it. No, in next year's GST returns you have claimed, you have incorporated that as a purchase of 25-26. In next year's GSTR 9, it will come in your 6A. Correct? Now, do we report that in 6A2, 6A1 ITC? Because please bear in mind that next year, when we give a reconciliation between books of accounts and annual return in GSTR 9C, when you're reporting your ITC as per books of accounts in table 12 of GSTR 9C, will you include that ITC next year or this year? Next year, correct? So for all practical purposes, if it doesn't appear in my 6B of next year and my 7J net ITC of next year, only then it is going to come and sit in my table 12, correct? And that is how the reconciliation is correct. That is the reporting aspect. Coming to the fundamental aspect, if I record that invoice as my purchase of next year, I am considering that ITC of my 25-26 ITC. I will not report that in table 13 of 24-25. I will not report that in table 6A1 of 25-26. I will keep it in 6A2. I will report that in 6B. It will come in my 8B. Correct? The moment I take it in 6B, it will come in my 8B. And there will have to be a reconciliation from my end. Merely because something is becoming inconvenient does not mean that we report accordingly and change our basis. Next point, the fourth point that I am putting here is important point. Table 13 of GSTR 9 of 1 year will match with table 6A1 of GSTR 9 of the next year. This you can keep as a check sum balance or check cross check between your figures of last year and current year. Their intention of designing the utility and designing the form is very clear, that whatever you report in your table 13 of current year, that same amount will come in your 6A1 as your last year's ITC. Okay. This is the reason why they are saying reclaim under 37-37A, don't report in table 13. Other than 37-37A, which you have reclaimed in subsequent year, report in table 13. Because if any ITC that now I will quickly two examples I give. Circular 170 का reversal है. Reversal in current year, reclaimed in subsequent year. What we said, we'll report it in 6B, we'll report it in 7H, we'll report it in table 8C, we'll report it in 13. Correct? Next year, is it ITC of last year? Yes. So we'll report it in 6A1. Match हो गया? हो गया. For 37A reversal, if we do the same thing, we report it in 6B, we report it in 7A, we report it in 8C, and I had said we stop there. They are saying don't report in table 13. Why? Because if you report in table 13, next year they said, do we report that in 6A1? No, you treat it as ITC of that year, you take it in 6A2, you report it in 6H. So your table 13 and 6A1 will not match. Okay. So important point to remember, table 13 of 1 year will match with 6A1 of the subsequent year. Reclaim of it, and why these are important points to understand is because we can understand that they are going to design their systems in such manner that where they see the difference between the two, a notice will come. Reclaim of ITC in the same year. Okay, claim, reversal and reclaim within the same year for whichever reason will be reported in 6B, 6H and 7, either 7A, 7A1 or 7H, whatever it is. This I have already clarified. Reclaim of ITC in the next financial year will always be reported in 6A1 of GSTR 9 of the next year, except reclaim under 37 or 37A, and reclaim under 37, 37 will be considered as the ITC of the year in which it is reclaimed. So if it is reclaimed in 25, 26, don't report in 6A1, consider that as ITC. If it is reclaimed in 27, 28, it is possible, then you treat it as ITC of 27, 28. In that year, don't report it in 6A1, take it in 6B and 6A2 and 6H, not 6B. I see that there are certain hands raised also. I have covered all the case studies here. I will move to the next table, but before that, if there are any relevant questions by anyone, I will take those up, clarify those. Why 8C invoice is not taken into FY 25? Achha. Can we do one thing, Ajay bhai? If you can just go through the comments and whichever ones are you find that they are relevant, we'll take up, and those who are raising their hand at the end of the session, we'll take up question answers also. Till then, I will finish my presentation. Next change is in table 9. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 1 minute. Yes.
Regarding point 8C, the point that where the invoice itself of say 24, 25, say March 25 invoice is recorded in June 2025.
Yes.
It is recorded late. So now, so whether to mention in 8C or not to mention in 8C.
If it is, it will appear in your 8A because the invoice has appeared in 24, 25 to GSTR 2B.
Yeah, it will appear over there.
Correct? So if it is appearing in 8A and that ITC which is appearing in 8A has been claimed in subsequent year, you report it in 8C. That is how what I'm trying to, the difference that I'm, how do we read 8C?
Yeah, but the instruction when we are reading, no, it goes on to say something else.
No, instruction in this answer, in my answer and instruction is the same. The answer of the instruction. Please, sir.
8C. Aggregate value of input tax credit availed on all inward supplies except those on which tax is payable on reverse charge basis.
Correct.
Received during the financial year for which annual return is being filed.
Correct.
For which
you are concentrating on received during the financial year.
For but credit for which was availed in next financial year.
Correct.
Within the period specified under section 16.
Correct. Exactly. Is this from the FAQ or the instruction?
From the instruction.
Okay. So if we can, I will read it because then everyone will benefit.
Yeah, I think.
Okay. The instruction of 8C states aggregate value of input tax credit availed on all inward supplies except those on which tax is payable on reverse charge basis, but include supply of services received from SEZs received during the financial year for which the annual return is being filed, but but credit on which was availed in the next financial year within the specified period under 16.4. So That is what I'm trying to say. The example that you gave was, if I have received the invoice, it is appeared in my 8A also, but I have recorded those purchases as my next year's purchases. Why do I report in 8C? I think the basis for this question appears to be that they are saying that on all inward supplies received during the financial year for which the annual return is filed, but credit for which is claimed during the year. So that is where I'm saying we have seen so many cases where the instructions state one thing, but the reporting is done in another manner. That is why I'm saying 8C it needs to be read as, when they are talking about inward supplies received during the year, they are intending that whatever inward supplies are received during the year, they are booked in the current year, but credit is claimed in the subsequent year. So inward supplies received during the year, anything that appears in 2B, according to them, inward supplies received by you. So that is where I said that table 8 being a reconciliation between GSTR 2B and your GST returns, anything that has appeared in my GSTR 2B of the current year for which the credit has been claimed in the subsequent year, that should be reported in 8C. That is how 8C needs to be read. Irrespective of whether that purchase has been recorded as my purchase of 24-25 or 25-26.
Correct. Right. So
The said ITC is not recorded in the books itself.
Yes.
So when you said for 25-26, you said this ITC will be reported in 6B,
Yes.
correct? So there, why will you not take in 6A1?
Because it is not my ITC of last financial year.
Exactly. So
Correct.
same way 8C
Correct.
also pertains to
No,
the
1 minute. 6B, again, 6, everything, my table 6, my table 7, my table 12, my table 13 are all on the basis of my books of accounts and my GST returns.
correct.
This only exception is this table 8, which has been the bone of contention since the beginning. Table 8 was always a table for reconciliation for the purposes of the department. And that table is a reconciliation between my 2B and my returns. Books don't come in between over there.
Correct. I agree. So in the next year also there will be a difference. 8A, 8B, 25-26, there will be a difference because your ITC is there in 6B.
Correct.
And then
It will come in my 8B, it will not come in my
either-
8A.
Either the difference is in 24-25.
Yes, that I
or
said.
the
No,
difference is in 25-26.
that one problem is going to be there. So, but in order to avoid that, what do you plan to do? Let's take another scenario. If I try to avoid it, what do? I say that I will report, you will still report it in 8C of the previous financial year.
Agree to report in 8C because 8C should contain only the
Okay,
current
so then
financial
if you
ITC
don't
which is
report it in
listed.
8C, you will still report it in table 13?
No,
Then?
because it will not be reported. It
Okay,
is not
you will not report in table 13, you will not report it in 8C also.
No.
All right, there will be a difference between 8A and
Correct.
this. You will let it be. Now next year, it will appear in my 6A.
Yes.
Do you take it in 6B? My
Yes,
current year's
yes,
ITC. Correct?
yes,
The moment you take it in 6B, it will go in my 8B also.
Yes.
It is still not going to be in my 8A.
Correct.
Correct? Then what do we do?
There will be a difference.
Difference, no?
तो difference तो वैसे भी आने वाला ही
अच्छा
है,
तो आप
but
ये बोल रहे हो
look,
कि
it is
आप ये बोल रहे हो डिफरेंस तो वैसे भी आने वाला है,
हाँ,
उधर वो डिफरेंस छोड़ दो क्योंकि मेरा उधर एक्सेस दिख रहा है, देखो जो मैंने नाउ इफ यू लीव इट वेदर यू लीव इट एज एन एक्सेस
नहीं, we have
that is claimed in
expenses.
subsequent year
हाँ.
or you report it as a figure that is claimed in subsequent year, is it up to you? But that difference could contain certain offsetting items, then you'll have to give another reconciliation of that difference. This contains my this figure
Reconciliation
also.
तो हर जगह देने हैं और टेबल 8 अलग से
Whereas if you report something in 8C, then you can give a statement containing this is my ITC which is claimed in subsequent year. Yes, sir. Second question.
If what ma'am is suggesting that if we leave it unreconciled in the financial year of 24-25,
In table 8,
Eight-
in table 8D.
8D,
हाँ.
so there will be an excel difference. तो वो तो lapse हो जाएगा ना, तो वो और wrong हो जाएगा, in my opinion.
So what sir is saying is, anything that comes in 8D, they are expecting you to report either this is ineligible ITC or lapsed ITC.
वो lapse हो जाएगा तो आपको उसका benefit नहीं मिलेगा आगे जाके.
तो कल कोई ब्रिलियंट ऑफिसर ये स्टैंड ले लेगा कि आपने दिखाया क्या, नहीं तो ये लैप्स्ड आईटीसी है. Okay, it's a matter of report. See, I always tell so many people in now at least there will be a lot of uniformity. Before this, I always used to say in 9 and 9C, because whatever you report in 9C gets affected. You report it in whatever manner you are comfortable with. Because this way you report, you'll have to have some working to prove what you're saying. That way you report, you'll have to have some working. Yes, sir.
देखिए प्रैक्टिकली डिपार्टमेंट देखते हैं 8C में है,
हाँ
प्रीवियस ईयर में 8C में दिखाया है और 9C में करंट ईयर में दिखाया है, आपने रिमार्क्स में लिखा है, तो दे अलाउज प्रैक्टिकली। अगर 8C में नहीं है तो दे आस्क वहाँ पे क्यों नहीं दिखाया था, वो तो आपका लैप्स वाला ITC हो सकता है।
So that is what my submission is. If an ITC has been claimed in the subsequent returns, I am, forget all the other things, going only by the purpose of that table and what needs to be reported. If certain ITC has been claimed, is appearing in 2B of that year, it is coming in 8A, it has been reported in returns of subsequent year, you report it in 8C. Okay. Let me go to the next tables and cover them quickly. Table 9, one small but very useful change has happened. There is one last table that has been inserted, difference between tax payable and tax paid. Earlier, every time we used to file the annual return, thereafter we used to take a printout of it और कैलकुलेटर से मार के हम लोग हाथ से लिख के रख. So if at all any additional liability has been disclosed in table 4, which you add in GSTR 9 tax payable, that tax payable minus tax paid will be the difference which we normally pay through DRC 03. That amount is now going to come here. Many softwares already provided this within the software, but that filed return never used to be there. Now it will come. If at all any excess payment has been made, that should appear as a negative amount also. Second change that they have made is consideration of negative liability reported in 3B. As we all know, recently they also started allowing reporting of negative figures in GSTR 3B. Now what they are saying is, if you have reported as positive figures in some months, negative figures in certain other months, then the net amount will come in GSTR 9. If on totality basis everything is going as negative, then tax payable will come as 0. Okay. Last table, table 17, HSN reporting. This was a much needed simplification because this, according to me, pura return ek taraf, and this table 17 problem was on a different level. Many of us may not be aware of it, but those who, the people in the company, we get it done from them, and they face so many problems because the utility for this was also very bad. Even a certain, beyond a certain decimal, it never used to take. And then it used to also ask you to match it to your liability that you have reported. And it was a big problem. And reporting in GSTR 1 and reporting in table 17 were different. So now what they have done in order to facilitate this, first thing that they have done, like our table 8A, for table 17 also, they are going to give us, they are giving us a Excel download. The data that is appearing will come. That Excel sheet will contain the consolidated details of table 12 of GSTR1. So HSN details reported in GSTR1. There will be another sheet which will convert this, themselves have done this, will convert this into table 17 format, which will be available for us to now report. Okay. So useful change. This is the last change. 9C late fees. They had stated from April 2025, I think. 9 will only be a complete annual return when it is uploaded along with 9C. Many cases they had noticed there people had filed 9C बाद में file कर दिया, late fee रुक गया था. Now 9C late fee computation, in, if you have noticed, in 9C there was no late fee table. Correct? So where to collect late fee from? So they have added one new table 17 in GSTR 9C, which will compute late fee payable, late fee paid. This computation of late fee will be based on the number of days delay after GSTR 9. So if you file GSTR 9 within time, but after the due date, so if you filed your GSTR 9 on 31st of December, but you filed 9C on 2nd of January, 2 days late fee will be added in 9C. If you filed both GSTR 9 and 9C on 2nd of January, that 2 days late fee will get collected in your 9 itself. 9C will not have a separate late fee. Correct? So any incremental late fee will get auto-populated in 9C. It will be system calculated. We need not worry about it. Certain issues that I have found, I am not going to go in detail of this. Like Parth said at the beginning, intensive study circles are a better forum to discuss these issues threadbare. Invoices reported in subsequent year. Okay. let's say that certain invoices of 24-25 are reported by us in 25-26. Are they coming in table 4? No, they are not. Correct? So that utility should be modified to include those also. Because at the end of the day, I don't know what you are doing, but in our case, we match that table 4 with our books of accounts. We don't bother about what has been reported in GSTR1. The basis is books of accounts and GSTR 3B. That should only be your basis. And that's where said that the tables in the form are designed in such a manner. If you see, even read table 10 and 11, they talk about amendments made through GSTR1 filed subsequently. But what we know that what do we report in table 10 and 11? That liability for the year which is reported through 3B of subsequent financial year is reported in 10 and 11. So similarly, no effect is being given in table 4. Taxpayers must account for this difference, timing difference. Then time limit for ITC reclaim. If you read those FAQs, at the end of the 24th FAQ, they've given a chart example. In that chart, they have very cheekily put in bracket that for ITC reclaim under 3737A, no time limit applies. Now, this is going to be a point of contention. According to the department, only that ITC which is reclaimed under 37 or 37A, there is no time limit. For all other ITC, there is that 16.4 time limit is applicable for which is reclaimed. Take an example. Something appeared in your 2B, you claimed, you showed it as a claim and a reversal in that return. Thereafter, you reclaimed it, but that reclaim was done beyond 30th November of subsequent financial year. Are you eligible to claim that ITC? One argument that is always taken is, since I had claimed it at that time and reversed it in 4B2, when I reclaim it, there is no time limit. If you read their FAQs and their intention appears to be, and if you see the reporting also, in the subsequent year, only that ITC that is being reclaimed under 3737A, they ask you to report in 6H. Everything else they tell you to put in 6A1. So the department is of the view, or appears to be of the view, that for such reclaim other than 3737A, 16.4 time limit is applicable. Then ITC initially reported in table 4B1. So this problem I read on a few WhatsApp groups. So I said, let me incorporate this also. People said that client told me that it appeared in my 2B, client's 2B. Client told me it is not my ITC. So we reported it in 4B1. Correct? Permanent reversal and temporary reversal. Those are this, no? So 17.5 ka hoga, whatever it might be, kar diya. Now, after the year-end reconciliation, the client tells me, nahi, ye ITC hai apna, eligible hai. Now, how do we claim something that has been reported in 4B1? The question that needs to be answered is one, that whether reporting something in 4B1 becomes a permanent reversal, it is never available for reclaim. My answer is no. You can very well claim that ITC in 4A5. That form has been designed in such manner. Reporting in something like that, that is not Bermuda Square. Correct? So एक बार डाल दिया उसमें तो भूल गया, ऐसा नहीं है. But the question that arises now, there are multiple ways people report this. Some people say that no, you add it twice in 4A5, then you show it once in 4B2, because 4B2 में एक बार जाना चाहिए था ना वो, तो वो उसको अभी दिखाओ, फिर 4A5 में 2 बार दिखाना. तो मतलब 3 बार उधर गया, 2 बार इधर आया, तो 1 बार मिल गया. मैं बोला इससे और प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट होएगा. What I would suggest, if somebody comes to me with such a problem, I would tell that person that you claim it in your 4A5, you report in your 4D1. A human error, you can always tell the department that I incorrectly reported something in 4B1 at that time. You allow me to revise that return, I will report it in 4B2. Okay. In order to correct one error, don't make another bigger error compared to that. It will be a big problem. With that, I finish my presentation. Any questions that we have, we'll take up now.
There is one issue that whatever ITC...
Any issue that you have, you're going to be taking it up on 29th
yes,
of November.
Yes, I know. So I'll get the clarification from you. मेरे को अच्छा है. Whatever ITC you reject in IMS,
yes,
that also is appearing in 8A.
That should not be possible.
That is
okay.
The fact.
So first, if it is happening, it's a technical glitch, because How many of us over here are not following IMS or not going through the IMS, not touching the IMS at all? No, so everybody is using IMS. Nobody is using IMS. No. So then I will have to first explain. No, the concept of IMS. If majority of us over here are not using IMS, then it is my duty to first explain what is happening, the mode of functioning. IMS is supposed to be a filter between your supplier's GSTR1 and your 2B. Whatever comes in your IMS, if you accept it or don't take any action deemed accepted, it will come in my 2B. The moment you keep anything pending or you reject anything is never going to come in your 2B. Now, okay, sorry, two parts. Why it might be coming. You keep it pending, it doesn't come in 2B. You reject it, it comes in your 2B as rejected, no? It comes in your in 8A as B, B2B करके आता है because it is rejected ITC. There is no filter over there. Okay. So it's a, according to me, it should not come. It's a technical glitch. And it still came. And then your 8A is giving the problem. Okay. So this will have to be represented also. Anything that you reject in IMS should not come in your, or even if it comes in your 2B, it should come as rejected ITC. Correct. सामने वाले का जाके liability उतना बढ़ गया उससे. Correct. Because you rejected the credit note. But your 8A ITC is gotten reduced by that amount. Correct. Keep a reconciliation outside. According to me, table 8, the simple answer should be you keep a reconciliation outside and finish it. The only problem with that is you will get a notice. Take no? What? If there is nothing you can do, then the only thing that you can do is be ready with an answer. And the only thing your client can do is be ready to pay your fees for it. Any other question online?
Online, there is one question. Mr. Ramesh here want to talk something. Yes, Mr. Ramesh, please. Mr. Ramesh, please unmute yourself. I think there is something issue.
Chat you want to refer? Chat box. I am reading from chat box. I am going from top. 1 minute. I'll stop this screen sharing. Kill. Okay. First question is by Mr. Bhavin Mehta. Where do we, at which table or row do we report the temporary reversal of ITC as per GSTR 3B? That is, my answer is table 7H. Temporary reversal is that reversal, if I am not mistaken, what he's referring to is that circular 170, what we report in 4B2, temporary reversal. In that case, that should be reported in 7H. Then there are comments. Then there is, okay. No, nobody said, nobody liked my PPT. ITC of 23-24 claimed in 24-25. If I show, if I will show in 6A1 and reduce it from 6H claim, then table 7J is getting reduced by double amount. In 7J is ITC available for utilization. It will be okay if ITC available for utilization getting reduced. Okay, I need to read this. ITC of 23-24 claimed in 24-25. If I show in 6A1 and reduce it in from 6H reclaim, I will stop here and I will answer this query. The moment you show something in 6A1 as previous year's ITC, it will not come in 6A2. There is no question of reporting that in 6H at all. So all your problems are solved the moment you report it in 6A1. In 6A2, it will not come. Your 7J will obviously be reduced by that amount, but it will not be reduced twice at all, only once. And 7J, when you compare it with your book ITC as per books of accounts of the current year, will also match. The problem that we are going to face, I will deal with one additional problem which I have not dealt with over here in my presentation. Because of this 6A1, what problem we are now going to face is in GSTR 9 table 12. I don't remember the exact table number, but there is ITC as per books of accounts. then ITC recorded in current financial year, reported, claimed in subsequent financial year. Then the third 12C basically is ITC of previous financial year claimed in current financial year, correct? And what that is there. So now why we used to earlier, when this was not there, we used to keep it as a difference between 6J, that earlier year's ITC claimed in current year. And then why we used to report that in 6M, because if we did not report that in 6M, your 7J used to be reduced to that extent. And then how do we report anything in that 12B or 12C? Now, since your 7J will come from 6A2, that will not never include your last year's ITC. So that part of that table 12, which contains last year's ITC claimed in current year, becomes redundant. Nothing will come over there. Negative value in 6A, no. Next comments, anything? Some ITC of 23-24 taken in 24-25. Also some ITC of 23-24 also reversed in 24-25. So do we need to show both separately or net? No. Table 6 is only gross ITC. Any ITC of last year which is claimed in current year, you report in table 6, 8A1. Any ITC of last year which is reversed in the current financial year, report nowhere, because nothing gets auto-populated in your table 7. Next comment is some ITC of 24-25 shown as temporary reversal in 24-25, and in 25-26 it is shown as temporary reclaimed and reversed. What is temporary reclaim? This is new to me. We need to show negative in 8C. Jai sir, you will have to call me and explain this query so that we'll put it up on the website of GSTPAM as an question and answer. Some ITC of 24-25 shown as, this is the last comment if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Some ITC of 24-25 shown as temporary reversal, and in 25-26 credit note is issued by supplier against that invoice in 25-26. And accordingly, we have transferred to permanent reversal in 25-26. Do we need to show negative in 8C? I will have to understand this in facts better and then answer, not answer just offhand like this. Any other questions from any participants? Q&A has 3. Please share PPT. Can you explain 8C again at 3:44? Anonymous attendee. I think I would advise you to join our virtual session on 29th of November. Intensive study circle issues in 9 and 9C. Over there we'll discuss all these things in detail one more time. Over there we've got 2.5 hours to discuss. ITC claimed in 24-25 pertaining to 23-24 must be reported in 12B of 9C as per instructions. Yes. Yes, okay. 12B or 12C. I think that is relating to what I was talking about. I think all the questions have been answered unless there is anyone who's raised their hand. No? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aditya, for this wonderful presentation and explanation. What you have, we had many doubts, which I'm sure have been cleared. I now request our Honorary Secretary, Sunil Joshi, to offer a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Ajay. It's always a learning sessions. We need to learn every year over the 9 and 9Z. That exam we always it appear every year, and every year we need to pass it up. And for that, every year we need a good teacher to teach us, to a guide to guide us for this. And none other than Aditya Surte, the best person to do that. I thank on behalf of our study circle meeting and association for guiding and guiding the forum as well as answering the queries. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please rise for national anthem.